Assalamu-Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this class, we are going to learn about khabaru la allati li nafi'il jins. I have explained you few things related to this khabaru la allati li nafi'il jins, and the rest of the things we are going to learn in this chapter. The basic ruling of la li nafi'il jins is that la give its ism a single fatha and its khabar a zamma when the ism and the khabar are nakera. So actually, unlikely to ma, laysa, kana or huruf mushabba bil fail or af'al naqisa, the use of khabaru la allati li nafi'il jins, or in the short we say khabaru la nafi jins, is quite complicated and different. It's not easy to remember all those rules, and yet in beginning it is going to be very difficult and tricky for you to remember and understand all these things just in the one chance. So you have to watch these rules again and again, and also as long you spend most of the time solving the Arabic textbooks, you will able to understand, and lot of the concepts will be clear there, whatever we have understood and learned in the Arabic grammar, Nahw and Sarf book. Remember, I'm going to be very honest with you. No one can teach you and make you understand the whole book at once in the first attempt. And there is not a single student, as long what I experienced, there is not a single student who are able to understand each and every topic in any book in first attempt, and they are very pretty sure that they are 100% sure and that they are not going to make any mistakes, and they understood everything very well, and they have memorized and versed all those things clearly. It is not possible for any human being. When we are learning something, few of the things, or we can say the few of the topics and its understanding is totally depends on how we practically use it. If we are not using it, you may be not able to understand its complete uses and complete ruling. So similarly in Nahw and Sarf, we learn the uses of ism, fail and harf. But if we are not solving those Arabic sentences and not using those rules to solve any Arabic sentence, then until that time we may not able to understand, and not all the concepts regarding any topic will be cleared or covered. So if you are unable to understand or remember anything right now, it's okay to move on. What is most important is that when I will be teaching you the book, and when once I tell you in the book that this is the rule of Marifa or Nakera, or this is the Muzakkar Muannas, or this is la nafi jins, or this is ism of kana or khabar of kana, at that time my statements and words doesn't feel very strange to you. That's what's important. It's okay if you're not able to remember it completely, but when I tell you in the book that this is the khabar of kana, my statement doesn't sound very strange to you. That's what's important. If you still remember that, oh, I heard somewhere, or I learned about khabar of kana and ism of kana, so you have a capability and you have that potential to go back and read again, and you will be able to understand it clearly. So don't worry about anything if you find any new topic and any new discussion. Why I'm telling you right now is that in this chapter, a specific chapter, there are few more new things which we haven't heard yet. Okay, so first understand, here the first ruling is that whenever the mubtada and khabar is nakira, and this is exceptional, because I told you that mubtada is always marifa and khabar is always nakira, but yet there are some exceptions in every language. One of them is that sometimes the mubtada and khabar both are nakira, and but it is not just common. Mubtada and khabar generally becomes nakira when there is a la nafi jins comes before that mubtada and khabar. So here rajula qa'imun, the first sentence, let me mark this one, la rajula qa'imun. So here rajula is mubtada and qa'imun is khabar. So now when the la is added, this rajula is actually the ism of la and the qa'imun is a khabar of la. So whenever mubtada khabar is nakira and la inserted on it, it will give only one fatha to that mubtada. We cannot write rajulan, it will be wrong. Okay, now there are some rules of i'rab on mubtada and khabar for la nafi jins, which is mentioned in the below table 3.6. Listen carefully, try to understand it, and if you are not able to understand it, it's okay. So the table number 3.6, different forms of ism of la and its i'rab. Different forms of the ism of la and its i'rab. So as I told you, sometimes mubtada is a single word, sometimes mubtada is a murakkab or a phrase or a group of words combined together to form mubtada. So similarly, the ism of la is actually mubtada, so it can also be a single word or a group of word or a phrase or a splitted or fragmented incomplete sentence. So the condition number 1 is that if the ism of la is muzaf or shibhul muzaf, then what is the condition number 1? Condition is that if the mubtada, or you can say the ism of la, is muzaf or shibhul muzaf. Shibhul muzaf means or muzaf like structure. It is not actually muzaf, but its structure is feel like muzaf. Shibhu means similar. So condition number 1 is that if the ism of la is muzaf or similar to muzaf, then the i'rab of ism will be zabar, or that ism will be mansoob. Example, la khadima rajulin fiddar. Here khadima is muzaf, rajulin is muzaf ilay. Muzaf ilay becomes ism of la, and fiddar is a khabar of la. So see, the i'rab of khadima is having zabar on it. Second example is example of shibhul muzaf. La sa'iyan khayran mazmumun. La nafi jins. Sa'iyan is shibhul muzaf, and khayran is shibhul muzaf ilay, and mazmumun is khabar. Now remember, I told you that muzaf does not accept alif lam and tanween on it. Similarly, muzaf ilay does not have any other i'rab except zair. But here in shibhul muzaf, all the rules are broken. Here sa'ian, it's becoming muzaf and it having tanween on it. Khairan is muzaf ilay and it has zabar on it, because they are not actually muzaf, they are similar to muzaf. Now the question is how they are similar. So if you remember, I told you in few videos earlier that there are some sentence in Arabic language where grammatically that sentence is muzaf ilay, but while translating that sentence we translate or use that sentence as mawsoof sifat, and vice versa. Grammatically in Arabic language some sentence can be mawsoof sifat, and while we are translating that sentence as muzaf ilay. So this is actually very common in every language, not very specific with only Arabic. It's very general and common. Grammatically the analysis of that sentence is totally different from how we use that sentence in our day-to-day life. So here la sayan khairan mazmuman, grammatically it does not fulfill the rules of muzaf ilay, but in translation there are very similar translation with this sentence to the actual as compared to the actual muzaf ilay. So they are very similar to the actual muzaf ilay in translation. That's why we consider these sentence as similar to muzaf ilay. Second, nakeratun mufradatun. If the ism of la is nakera and single word, i'rab is mabniun alal fath. Mabniun alal fath means it i'rab is fixed with one fatha, that is la rajula fid dar. So that's the second condition. Third condition is if the ism of la is marefa, then the i'rab will be marfu, like here la zaidun. So here zaidun is marefa, so the i'rab is marfu, la zaidun fid dari. Okay, now fourth rule. If the la of ism is nakera with a word between it and la, it means just after la there is another word and then the ism of la, so the i'rab will be marfu. Here la fiha rajulun, so the ism of la is rajulun, but before la and rajulun there is fiha. And the last condition is if the ism of la and is nakera repeated with no words between them, then every kind of i'rab is possible. So see, there is a la and ism and then again we have a la. So there are two la in a one sentence. So here we can have our own i'rab, we can read the i'rab we want to read. All i'rab are possible and acceptable. Now, the khabar of la may be omitted when the meaning is understood. It's obvious, we generally remove the khabar when the meaning is understood easily. Like la basa alayka. So la basa is actually la basa fiha or la basa laika or la basa. There are other words added after basa, but it's very obvious, so we removed it. Now translate, fill in the i'rab and point out the rules which applies. Okay, so let me get my pen so I can able to help you solve this one. So la khayra fi malil bakhili li nafsihi. I gave the i'rab, now I'm going to explain it. The word comes after la, so it must be fatha. Fi is harf jar, so the next word is majroor. And this word doesn't have alif lam, so maybe it is muzaf. And the next word is muzaf ilayhi, so having zair. Lam is harf jar, so the next word is majroor. And he is actually, this type of zamir is muzaf ilayhi, so the nafs is obvious, muzaf. Now, translation. There is no betterment in the wealth of stingy person li nafsihi, for his own. Second, la taliba ilmin. Here we have muzaf ilayh. La taliba ilmin fil fasli, none of the student in the class. La sahiba junudin mazmumun, not a single army is mazmum, means disrespected. La ar-rajula. Oh, sorry. So here the ism of la is marifa. So la ar-rajulu karimun wala ibnuhu. Let me check. I also forget the i'rab. What we learn, if marifa, oh yes, if marifa, it's marfu. So I gave the marfu i'rab, so I was right. Okay. So la ar-rajulu karimun wala ibnuhu, none of the men are man is noble, not his son. La bakarun fil fasli wala hasanun, not the bakr in the class or and also not hasan. La fil fasli muallimun wala talibun, there is no teacher in the class, not the student. La dara kutubin fil madinati, there is no library in the city. La fil hadiqati sibyanun wala banatun, there is no children or girls in the park. Now section 3.8, al-mansubat, words which are always mansub. So first one is maful bihi, then maful mutlaq, then maful lahu, maful ma'ahu, maful fi and hal. So generally the first is maful, and then there are 5 different types of maful. One is maful bihi, it's a general maful. Then we have maful mutlaq, then maful lahu, maful ma'ahu, maful fi, then we have hal. Okay. Then we have tamiz, ism inna wa akhwatiha, which we have already finished. Khabaru ma wa la mushabhataini bلیس, this is also finished. Ismu la allati li nafi jins, finish. Khabaru kana wa akhwatiha, complete. So 7, 12, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Of these 8, 9, 10, 11 have been discussed before. Here we will be discuss the remaining. The first one is section 3.8.1, maf'ulun bihi, object. Definition: It is that word on which the action of the fa'il takes place. Shariba Khalidun ma'an. Here ma'an is maf'ul, shariba fail, fa'il is Khalid, and maf'ul is ma'an. Sometimes the fail governing maf'ul bihi is dropped as in the following. So in some cases maf'ul is dropped from the sentence. There are some cases. Which one? Let's see. First one is munada, like ya ibna Zaidin. Sorry, not the maf'ul, but the fail is removed. Sorry. In some situations, fail is removed from any sentence and only maf'ul is left. And I have given you the example about the person who was going to fall in the hole, and then what the other person will say to save his life. At that time I explain you why sometimes we remove the fail or the khabar. So when the maf'ul is munada, here also the khabar, the fail can be removed. Like ya ibna Zaidin. Ya is harfe nida, ibna is muzaf, Zaidin is muzaf ilay is become munada. So nida harfe nida becomes maf'ul, but the fail is removed. Which type of fail? Adu'u fail is removed from here. So adu'u is a fail file and ibna Zaidin is actually maf'ul. So we removed the adu'u fail and file and put the ya before ibna Zaidin. Note, the harf nida substitutes the omitted fail. Some of the vocative particles are as follow: a, aya, ya, ai, ahaya. There are actually 5 words which are known as harf nida, from which generally ya and ai are the most common used word from the category of harf nida. Now there are some rules for the i'rab of munada. Actually it's not that complicated, it's very easy. I'm going to just tell you there are only 2 types of i'rab of munada. If munada is muzaf, its i'rab will be fixed with 1 fatha, like ya ibna Zaidin. So here ibna is muzaf and munada, so ibna having 1 fatha on it. If munada is marefa and it's a name, so there will be only 1 pesh, like ya Zaidu. Okay, ya Zaidu. And if munada is nakera, again it will be 1 i'rab, like ya Rajulu, not Rajulun or not Zaidun. That's the fixed i'rab of munada. Let's see. First condition, when the munada is muzaf, its i'rab is mansub, like ya ibna Zaidin. Here ibna is munada and muzaf. Second, shibhul muzaf, ya qariya kitaban. Here the qariya is shibh muzaf. Nakeratun ghayru muayyanatin. It means simply the nakera, like ya rajulan. Now you may be wondering, I just told you that there should be only 1 i'rab, then why there is 2 i'rab? So remember, there are multiple ways to explain the nakera. There are 2 types of nakera. One nakera is unspecified nakera, and second one is specified nakera. So nakera can be further divided into 2 parts. One which is a general word which represent just the gender of that category. For example, when I am saying man, a man can have 2 different meanings. A man represent the gender of male, or the man represent any particular man which is in my mind. For example, there are 5 men sitting on the table. Okay, now I am telling one of the man here have solved this exercise. So here the man word is actually nakera. But now here this man word does not represent the gender of masculine. Here that man word represent one of the man on that table. So here this rajul nakera word is actually specified for some people, or it has some boundary. But when I am saying no man enter in this house. Here we are denying the whole gender of man. Understood? So that is unspecified. So if the word is unspecified, then we will use the i'rab like this, rajulan. And when it is nakira and specified, we use this i'rab, ya rajulu. And remember, who will decide whether this nakira is specified or unspecified? The speaker, it's himself. When we have marifa mufrad, we add ya zaidu. And sometimes when the word munada is having alif lam, so if that word is muzakkar, we use ayyuha before that word. And if that is muannas, we use ayyatuha. So ya ayyuhar rajulu for muzakkar and ya ayyatuhal mar'atu for muannas. There is no rule for use of ayyuha or ayyatuha. We simply put when the munada is muzakkar and with alif lam we use ayyuha after ya. And if munada is muannas with alif lam, we use ayyatuha after ya. Then there is another word which is called tarkheem. Abbreviation is allowed in munada. It means sometimes the word after munada is removed or it becomes shortened. Okay? For example, when I am saying ya maliku, so in hurry, in short, we can say ya malu or ya mali. Instead of saying ya mansuru, we can say ya mansu. But it is not that common. We can use this short form only when we are sure that the listeners are not going to get the different meaning. No, when I am saying ya malu, listeners have the idea that their malu stand for maliku, not the mal, the wealth itself. Then the second reason is ahlan was sahlan. These two are maful, where there are the fail ataita and wataita. These two fail and file is removed and we simply use the maful one, ahlan was sahlan. This is said to one of the guests for welcoming him or her. Its original is ataita ahlan wataita sahlan, which means you have come to your own people and have trampled comfortable ground. In the other words, you are welcome. Here two fails, ataita and wataita, have been dropped. C. Sometimes when warning, the fail governing of the maful bihi is dropped due to the context. Examples includes the following. At-tariq, at-tariq. Here at-tariq, at-tariq is actually maful. It is used instead of ittaqi, at-tariq. Ittaqi is fail and file. To give the same meaning, which is be aware of the road. Here the fail ittaqi has been dropped. I already gave you the example before. Iyaka wal asad is used instead of ittaqi nafsaka minal asadi to give the same meaning, which is save yourself from the lion. So now if someone asks you what are the different places where we remove the fail and file and we only use mafule bihi, so there are three reasons place. One, when the maful is very obvious. Okay, the use of maful is very obvious. Second, when we want to aware someone. And third one is, what was the first part? Yes, when there is a harf nida on maful. Now section 3.8.2, mafule mutlaq. What is mafule mutlaq? Mafule mutlaq is actually the masdar of the same fail which is written before. So mafule mutlaq is the masdar of the same fail which is used in that sentence. Or if the fail is not same as masdar of maful, at least it gives the same meaning. Let me explain you with the example. Zarabtuhu zarban. So here zarban is a maful and zarban is masdar. I hope you understand what is masdar. So zarabtu who zarban. So zarban is a masdar from which zaraba fail is extracted. So now this zarban and this zaraba are same word but in a different format. One is ism and another one is fail, but the root letter are same. So here the zarban is actually maful, but this is maful mutlaq. Okay, zarabtuhu zarban. Now what are the use of maful mutlaq? So maful mutlaq can be used in the three different cases. One, to emphasize the meaning. Second, to bayanun nawi, description of the type. And third is bayanul adadi, explain the number of times. For example, the example of emphasized meaning is that zarabtuhu zarban, I beat him severely. Bayanun naw, jalastu jilsatal qari, I sat like the qari would. So here I am saying that I am explaining the description of the sitting of qari, and then I say that I just sat like him. Now bayanul adadi, zarabtuhu zarbaini, I hit him twice. Here zarbataini means to hit, so twice. Sometimes the fail governing maf'ul mutlaq is dropped because of the context. For example, khayra maqdamin, originally it was qadimta quduman khayra maqdamin, which means you came a good coming. Here the fail qadimta and quduman, which is maf'ulun mutlaqun, have been dropped because of context. Only the sifatun maf'ulun mutlaqun, which is khayra maqdami. So similar to maf'ul mutlaq, similar to maf'ul bihi, maf'ul mutlaq fail is also omitted when the use is very common. So khayra maqdamin is a very common word which is generally used when some guest comes to our home. Now section 3.8.3, maf'ulun li ajlihi or maf'ulun lahu. Both words represent the same thing. So either you say maf'ulun li ajlihi or maf'ul lahu. It is an ism which explains the reason for the action taking place. Generally it is a masdar. This is also a masdar, which means its i'rab will be with fatha. But this masdar actually tell us that why this fail occurred. That's why it is known as maf'ulun lahu or maf'ulun li ajlihi, maf'ul for its cause. So whenever when the fail actually happened because of the masdar, it means when maf'ul, when maf'ul encourage or force the file to do some action. So here the action is occurred because of the maf'ul. So here this type of maf'ul will be known as maf'ul lahu. For example, zarabtuhu ta'diban. So here in this example, ta'diban is maf'ul lahu. So here to teach him manner, ta'diban means to teach manner. So the action of hitting occurred by me because of the manner, because I want to teach that person a manner. So here ta'diban is maf'ul lahu and my hitting occurred because of it. Then we have section 3.8.4, maf'ul ma'ahu. Maf'ul ma'ahu is actually very rare in use these days, but you will find this in the classical Arabic very much. It is an ism which appears after such a waw which has the meaning of ma'a. Ma'a means with. This waw is known as waw al-ma'iyyah. Waw al-ma'iyyah. For example, Ja'a Zaidun wal kitab. So here Ja'a is fail, Zaidun is file. Wow, this wow does not mean and. Here this wow means with. So this wow is a wow of Ma'iyya, and here Al-Kitab is not a common maf'ul but maf'ul ma'hu, because this maf'ul comes with wow. So the translation will be Zaid came with the book. Here ji'tu wa Zaidan, it means I came wow with Zaidan, with Zaid. Then section 3.8.5 zarf or maf'ul bihi. I have already explained you what is maf'ul fi, then zarf zaman, zarf makan. So here are some special words to represent the zarf zaman and zarf makan. Some of it we have already discussed in asma zuruf. So let's understand here. It is an ism which denotes the time, which means zaman, or place, which means makan, in which an action took place. Like safartu shahran, I traveled for a month. So here shahran is a maf'ul, but this is maf'ul fi. Both type of zuruf, namely zaman and makan, are of two types: mahdud, which is limited or restricted, and mubham, which is unlimited and unrestricted. For example, if we have a very we want to tell that something happened under a very limited time or place, we use a mahdud. And if something happened which area or which time cannot be restricted, or we cannot make a boundary, or we cannot cover it, it means that is mubham or unlimited. Types of zuruf zaman. So mahdud means yawm. Yawm means a day. If I say yawmun, it means a one day. So this meaning is limited. It does not mean 2 days or 3 days until we add some other word which gives the meaning of 2 or 3. But simply if you add only yawmun, it means just one day. So sumtu yawman will be translated as I fasted for one day. Laylun, night, one night. Shahrun, 1 month. Sanatun, year. And then we have mubham, means daharun. Daharun is actually a century, long period of time. Heenun means that time. It's a short period of time, but it is unlimited. Sumtu daharan, I fasted for long time. Da Nuhun qawmahu heenam min ad-dahar. Nuh alayhi salam called his people for some time. Types of zuruful makan. This is also have mahdud and mubham. Mahdud is like Sallaitu fil masjid, I prayed in the mosque. So the area of mosque is limited. Jalastu fid dar, I sat in the house. The area of house is limited. But when I am saying Jalastu khalfa, khalfa means behind. So I can be when I say that I sat behind, like Jalastu khalfahu, I sat behind him. So here a behind has no limitation. I may be very close to him but behind, or I may be far to him but I was sitting behind him. Similarly, amama and tahta and fawqa. The above mentioned 5 maf'uls have been combined in a couplet which is follows: Hamidtu hamdan hamidan wa hamidan ri'ayata shukrihi daharam madidan. So here Hamidtu is a fail file, Hamdan is maf'ul mutlaq, Hamidan is also maf'ul mutlaq, Hamidan is also maf'ul mutlaq. Ri'ayat shukrihi is maf'ul lahu, Daharan is maf'ul fi, and Madidan is maf'ul fi. I praised Hamid. Oh, so this one should be here, but there is actually a different rule. Hamidan is maf'ul bihi. Now analyze of sentence. Shukrihi muzaf muzaf ilay, riayat shukri muzaf muzaf ilay, madidan sifat, daharan mausuf sifat. So hamidtu is fail file, hamdan is maful mutlaq, hamidan is maful bihi, wa hamidan maful mahu because of waw, riayat ash-shukri muzafil maful lahu, daharan madidan mausuf sifat maful fi. Exercise. Wow, there are a lot of exercise. Not going to solve this exercise right now. I'm just going to tell you the meaning. Try to solve these exercise your own. Akala means eat. Ali is file. And akalataini is mafule mutlaq masdar, twice. Rakiba means board, like when we onboarding on any vehicle. Ibrahim is file. Al-Hisan means horse. Put the i'rab yourself, fail file maful simply. Safartu, I travel. Wow is mafule maahu and akhaka wow is wawe ma'iyya and akhaka mafule maahu. Yathibu means getting older. An-namru means I think fox. And wuthub al-asadi muzafile mafule mutlaq. Yusafiru fail, traveling. Khalid file. Misr is place. Talaban intended. Lil ilmi for ilm. So talaban lil ilm mafule lahu. La tabkhalu, do not become stingy. Khashiyatal faqri muzafile, fear of wealth. So this is mafule lahu. Tuqidu, light, igniting. Al masabih, light. Laylan, night. Safara, travel. Zad file. Talaban li rizq, it's very similar to this one. Waqafa shurti, waqafa fail, means stop. Shurti, policeman. Wuqufan nashat, it is very similar to this one. Qaratu darsa, I read. Dars means chapter. Sabahan, morning. Amamal muallim muzafile maful fi, this is similar to this one. Taduru means move. Al arz file. Dawratan means one round. Fil yawmi jar majroor. Alamu, you all know. Al khair maful. Hubban maful fil khair, in the khair. Jalasat fail. Al hirratu file. Tahta muzaf. Al maktab muzafile and muzafile maful fi. Saratis sayyaratu, sarat fail. Sayyaratu file. Saatan maful fi zaman. Now translate your own. Now section 3.8.6 hal, state or condition. It is an ism which describes the condition of either fa'il or maf'ul, or both at the time the action contained in the fail take place. For example, Ja'a Zaidun Rakiban. So here the Rakiban word is not actually maf'ul, it's a hal, a condition, tells that what was the condition of Zaid when he was coming to us, me. So Zaid came while mounted or riding. So what is hal? Hal actually simply tell us about the condition and situation of fa'il or maf'ul when the fa'il was doing something, what was his condition, or what was the condition of maf'ul when the fa'il was doing some action on him. Now the question is, the i'rab of maf'ul and hal is very similar. How can one understand whether this word is maf'ul or hal? So the simple answer is, you cannot understand. You need to understand the translation as well as the context of the sentence. Only then you may be able to figure out that whether this word is hal or maf'ul. ji'tu zaidan na'iman. Here na'iman explains the situation of zaidan, which is maf'ul. And kallamtu zaidan jalisaini. So here jalisaini is tasniya. So one word explaining the situation of maf'ul and another jalisun word explains the situation of fa'il. So here the hal used for both fa'il and maf'ul. Now there are some rules. Let's understand this. Rule number 1. The condition itself is known as hal, whereas the one whose condition is being described is known as zul hal. So this word is known as hal. And why we use hal? For who we use hal? For Zaid. And what is Zaid? Zaid is fa'il. So here fa'il is known as zul hal and raqiban is hal. Here na'iman is used for which one? For Zaid. So Zaid becomes zul hal, na'iman is hal. Second, the hal gets a nasab, which is generally in the form of 2 fatha. Then the zul hal is generally marifa and the hal is nakera. It is important, because if not, then the one can get confused that whether this is mawsuf sifat. For example, if you let's go back to the other example. For example, if instead of na'iman, if I write an na'ima, then one can get confused that this is mawsuf sifat, because both are marifa. So that's why it is important that the zul hal should be marifa and the hal should be nakera. Point number 4. The zul hal is nakera, the hal is brought before zul hal. Now, if zul hal is also nakera, then in that situation, hal should exchange the place, so that the reader will not get confused with mawsuf sifat. For example, look for this example. If instead of Zaidan, if here the Rajulan is written, one can understand that Rajulan is mawsuf and Na'iman is sifat, because they both follow they have 4 similarities between them. So for prevent the readers from this confusion, what we do, we switch the place. We first put the hal and then the zul hal, because we know in mawsuf sifat, mawsuf comes first and then sifat. But here we have just closed the possibility of mawsuf sifat by simply switching the place. Now the 5 number, the zul hal can be zamir. Yes, of course, zul hal can be zamir. For example, Zaidun akala jalisan. Here akala has zamir inside it, which is zul hal, and jalisan is hal. Point number 6. The hal can be sentence. Yes, it is possible. If the hal is jumla ismiya, then waw is added to give the meaning of hal. Like la taqrabus salat wa antum sukara. So this waw is not just a random waw. This waw is known as waw al-haliya. Waw al-haliya. So far we have learned about 2 type of waw. One is waw ma'iyya, which comes before maf'ul, and one is waw haliya, which tell us that the next sentence who is hal. So wa antum sukara, this whole sentence is hal. Now second, if the hal is jumle fe'liya, the fail mazi qad has to be appear before fail mazi. But if the sentence after waw haliya is jumle fe'liya, we use qad if that sentence is mazi. Now let's have the analysis of sentence. Ja'a fail, Zaidun is fa'il, but we cannot just make it fa'il right now. Zaidun is zulhal, Raqiban is hal. After merging the hal and zulhal, this become fa'il, and the fail fa'il become jumle fe'liya khabariya. Second sentence, ji'tu fail and fa'il, amran is zulhal, na'iman is hal. Hal zulhal becomes maf'ul bihi, then fail fa'il and maf'ul bihi become jumle fe'liya khabariya. Then third sentence, laqitu fail and file, bakaran is zulhal, wow is wow haliya, huwa is mubtada, jalisun is khabar. Mubtada khabar becomes hal. Now wow haliya, hal and zulhal, all these three become merged together to become maf'ul of this fail and file. Then fail, file and maf'ul become jumla failiya khabariya. Now Zaidun is mubtada, akala is fail, having huwa zamir which is zulhal, and jalisan is hal. Hal zulhal become file of akala fail. Then fail, file become jumle failiya khabariya, and then from sentence from akala jalisan it becomes khabar of Zaidun mubtada. Then mubtada khabar become jumle ismiya. Then we have exercise. Uhibbu, I love, tilmiz, a student, mujtahidan, hardworking. Laqitu, I met, Zaidan is name, raqibaini, onboarding. La ta'kulu, do not eat, al fakihata, fruits, wahiya fijjatun, fijjatun means unripe. Raja'a, return, al qaidu, file, mansuran, helping. You have to translate according to the hal zulhal. Okay. Katafa, pluck, tajir, businessman, al inaba, grapes, najizan, fresh. La ta'kulu, do not eat, at-ta'am, food, harran, hot. Let me give you the one example how you are going to translate it. Like first one, uhibbu tilmizu mujtahidan, I love a student who is hard working, or I love a student who is in the condition of hard working. La ta'kulu ta'ama haran, do not eat the food while it's warm. Nasartu, I help, Zaidan, Zaid name, mashdudan, I have I do not remember the meaning of mashdudan. Gaba, absent, akhuka, your brother, waw is haliya, waqad hazara, and present, jamiu asdikahi, all his friends. Your brother is absent while all his friends are present. Dakhala lissu, dakhala fail, enter, lissu means thief, al manzila maful, wa haliya, ahluhu naimun, it's people were sleeping. Nimtu al ashjara walamma yasmur. Nammatil ashjaru. The trees lower themselves walamma yasmur, when they are fruitful. It's actually a phrase. Like when you have lot of things, you just fall, you become down to the earth. Then we have section 3.8.7, tamiz or tamiz. Definition: it is an ism nakira which removes the ambiguity or vagueness created by preceding the ism. The ambiguity may be in distance, weight, measure and numbers. Just simply remember the general use of tamiz is with number, weight, measure and something which can be some quantities or distance, length, breadth, height. In these situations we generally use tamiz. What is actually tamiz? Let me make you understand very easily. When a speaker says something to the listener, and once the listener heard that, listener still get confused with the exact motive of the speaker. So the speaker just used another word to explain what he said earlier. That is called tamiz. Tamiz means when you clear something, when you remove the confusion, when you remove the ambiguity from any word or sentence, that is tamiz. For example, if I tell you, give me 5. So when I am telling you give me 5, here it's a complete sentence. I'm asking you to give me 5, but still you do not have any idea 5 what. When I add another word, 5 bread, here this bread word is tamiz, because this bread word explain the whole sentence, that what I was asking you from you, and why I said the number 5. Understood? Let's have another example here. When I am saying, when someone say ra'aytu ahada ashara kawkaban, I saw 11 star. So if he stop here, ra'aytu ahada ashara means 11, I saw 11. Now the listeners get confused. Then we use a star. So a star or kawkaban means a star. So this kawkaban is actually tamiz, because this words clears the confusion raised by this sentence ra'aytu ahada ashara. Okay? If you didn't understand, repeat the words of video please. Here the word kawkaban clarifies what ahada ashara refers to. Analysis of sentence. Ra'aytu is fail file, ahada ashara is mumayyaz, and kawkaban is tamiz. Mumayyaz and tamiz become maful, and then fail file maful become jumle failiya khabariya. There are some rules for tamiz. See, the ambiguous ism is called mumayyaz, and the ism which clarify it is called tamiz or tamiz. The tamiz is mansub and gets to fatha. Sometimes mumayyaz is not mentioned in the words, but it is understood from the meaning of a sentence, like hasunal waladu kalaman. So here kalaman is a tamiz, but its mumayyaz is not mentioned here. But we know here the mumayyaz is very obvious. So it's very similar like when we remove khabar or when we omitted the fail. So it's sometimes obvious. Translate the following, translate, fill in the i'rab and point out the mumayyaz and tamiz in the following sentences. Fil haqli, in the garden. Ishruna is mumayyaz because it's a number, and baqaratan it is tamiz, and the i'rab of tamiz is maful. I will explain the first one and the rest you have to do your own. Bi'tuhu, I sold him. Dhira'an, one hand. Hariran, harir is I think it's resham, I don't know the I think it's silk. I'm not actually completely sure about the hariran. Al-filu mubtada, akbaru khabar, min harfajar, jamali camel, jisman means by body. So this is tamiz, this is mumayyaz. At'amtu, I fed. Ad-dajajata, roaster. Mil al-kaffi, one fist. Habban, seeds. Taba al-makanu hawa'an, the place was good environmentally or by surroundings. La amliku, I do not own. Shibran or zan, shibran one hand. It's like when you from the lady finger to the thumb, when you put your lady finger one side and your thumb another side, it's used for distance. So this whole area is called shibr. Sharibtu ritlan labanan, ritlan is a weight. I drank ritlan labanan, some milligram of milk. Sharibtu kuban ma'an, sharibtu I drink, kuban is also a cup, ma'an water. Tamiz comes in the end, mumayyiz just before it. That's your hint. Now the rules of Asma'ul Adad, which I'm going to first, which I will be explaining in the next video inshallah, not right now. Assalamu-Alaikum wa rahmatullah.